Howdy, howdy. That chat did not last very long. This could potentially send a link there, but never mind. Howdy, howdy. I'm reading Tears and Saints by E.M. Cioran. Got any questions for me? I'm a vegan Efilism activist. For now, I'm just reading this book while I wait for questions, and, I can give them answers, life questions or just whatever, philosophy, because I'm good at that, so. That or we can just hang out in Bool here. I mean, never mind. Goodbye. Ciao. Hmm. Well then, okay. My lord, I shall dredge tears from the gates of hell, and make my home in them. I shall fold your shadows in my twilights. Can it be that God is only a delusion of the heart, as the world is one of the mind? This Bowen is poet. The greatest piece of good luck Jesus had was that he died young. Had he lived to be 60, he would have given up his memories instead of the cross. Memories instead of the cross. Even today, we would still be blowing the dust of God's unlucky son. Whew. Yeesh. Joseph, the father of Jesus, is the most compromised person in history. The Christians shoved him aside and made him the laughingstock of all men. Had he told the truth at least once, his son would have remained an obscure Jew. The triumph of Christianity originates in the virility that lacks self-esteem. The virgin birth originates in the world's piety of one man's cowardice. This man's going hard at Christianity. Only the brothel or an angel's tear can free us temporarily from the terror of death. Beautiful. The Middle Ages were well acquainted with the technique of producing tears, those proofs of ardent passion. To obtain the gift of tears, prayers were said and promised, of mortification given. Even Thomas Aquinas had this gift, considered the true way of loving God. Formulas for the adoration of God abound. The Middle Ages were saturated with tears. The rivers of tears haven't quite dried up even today, and whoever had an ear for pain can still hear their lamentations. Saint Dominic, who had this gift in a big way, would render such woeful sights at night that the other monks would wake up and join his lamentations. The Middle Ages expiated Adam's sin, thus making the Renaissance possible. One day before his conversation, Francis of Assisi was walking along the highway weeping, thinking he was ill. A young man asked him, "What's the matter with you, brother?" "Ah," he answered, "for the love of Christ, I should not be ashamed of going around the world like this, grieving of my Saviour's agony." The Middle Ages have exhausted the contents of eternity. Give us the right of love transferring things. The whole of this is a new line, by the way. The whole of Christianity is mankind's feet of crying. Anybody here yet? No, no one's here. I'm just talking to myself. I'm just straight up just vibing. Lordy, lordy. Hmm. I take that as there ain't no reason for me. Hmm. Howdy do. Welcome to the Boogaloo. I don't know. I guess that's a racist term now. Never mind. Welcome to the hangout here in this place. Any questions? Any thoughts? Any life questions, particularly ethical questions? Like you think of like some things where you're like, I'm not sure if I should have done that, or maybe I should have done it differently. I'm your dude. I'm the dude that tells you like, hey man, nah, you were in the right, or like, shit, homie, you right. You probably shouldn't have done that. I'm that guy. I can help you out. It's kind of my forte, philosophy major. I don't get paid for my degree. I probably never will, but I can at least help people out. You know what I mean? But I can't help you out unless you send me a comment. I mean, I could help you out. I mean, if you watch my other videos, I kind of just like rant about like the ethics of life and stuff. So I mean, if you can help yourself out and many other beings by just like learning about Efilism. But if you already know about Efilism, then I mean, you're Yuji. I mean, you're probably good. So I mean, when it comes to helping other than that, I mean, yeesh. I don't know if I can really help you, man. I can try. I can try to help you. I can try to answer questions that are like valid, but like when it comes down to it, like outside of ethics, like oh boy, life is kind of rough. You're probably on your own for the most part, but I can get you somewhere hopefully, or at least help you along the way. Give you like some confidence boosts. Know that you're at least not me, a guy who's rambling to one guy who hasn't even left a comment yet, or girl, or whatever. This person says, "How come is it so? It's okay to euthanize animals but not humans?" On my Facebook, you know, it's a good question. I don't know why people have the hypocrisy. You know, I think it's just the belief of the soul and all that bullshit and hellfire. When it comes down to it, they don't want to admit it, but that's pretty much what it comes down to. When it comes down to it, it's like we're okay with putting an animal down, but a completely rational, moral agent can't decide to put themselves down. Doesn't check out if you ask me, but what do I know? I'm not sober right now. Christ. You know what? I'm going to turn down the volume. We don't need any more of those surprises. So, I knew you weren't sober. Yo, welcome, my dude. Yeah, when am I sober? That's the real question. Like, never, never. Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, I'm sober when I'm at work. I'm sober when I'm at work, and I'm sober when I'm at school. And that's, well, usually I'm sober when I'm at school. I'm always sober at work, but that's because, I don't want to get fired. But, you know, who wants to get fired? I mean, I guess some people want to get fired, but I don't want to get fired. So, the curse of being a philosopher, yeah, it really fucking sucks, man. It's just like one day you're just sitting here like, not a philosopher, you're just big vibing, you're having like a pretty okay time, you still got like a depression, and kind of like life kind of sucks, but you're still like, you think like, hey, we are allowed to make our own purposes, we just out here making our own purposes, just vibing, whatever we do, social contract, if every that's basically what I was like in the past, just antisocial as fuck, everything was social contract, just fooling, didn't give a single fuck whatsoever. And now I kind of just stumbled across psychedelics, and psychedelics made me feel like, hey, things probably matter here. I should start to explore the meaning of life. And when I did that, went down a rabbit hole and decided to become a philosophy major. And yeah, now my depression is both from a lack of meaning of not believing there's God, but it's also from believing that everything is just pure hell. Like honestly, like pain has way more value than pleasure does, and everything's kind of sucks. So yeah, the curse of being a philosophy major. It's just yeah, man. You were vibing one day, and then the next day it's just like you learn something that just like clicks in your blur brain, and it's just like, oh shit, the vibe has been killed. But yeah, I'm reading some Emil Cioran, Tears and Saints. If you haven't read Tears and Saints, highly recommend this. This is some good shit right here. Really good shit right here. Actually, you know what? So you dump some questions in the chat, I can narrate a little bit. Ooh. Let's see. To used to go for walks in the middle of the night with a decommissioned army jacket and steel-toed army boots with 2 knives in my sleeves, hoping to get jumped. Yo, man, I haven't done the same. I mean, I've done plenty of night walks with my friends while like high and stuff. I'm sure one of them probably had a knife on them. I might have had a knife on me at one point, but it was more of just for like self defense and stuff of that nature. But I completely understand the sentiment of that because just getting like an excuse to just like, you know, do something that is like deep within the horrible parts of one's soul, and just have that as a legal justified action would be quite, yeah. I was drunk many times. I mean, yeah, man. I imagine if you're drunk and have some thoughts of the big not kosher of the law, then hell yeah, man, just wander the streets drunk at night and hope some fucking dumbass Patrick Bateman-esque motherfucker walks up to you and you're just like, yo, reverse Uno card. You know what I mean? But it's never happened to me because I don't want to get frankly stabbed, so I'm not gonna go walking around at night. But all the power to you, my dude. All the power to you. I can understand the appeal. I have a twisted mind, so I understand the appeal. But frankly, I wouldn't go wandering at night. Not very safe for one's own self. Especially now that I believe I have like a duty to like prevent my net suffering, and so I have like to preach veganism and I have to go out here preaching antinatalism, Efilism, all that good shit. I can't be walking the streets at night hoping someone allows me to enact my rights of self-defense. But as much as that would be some very American psycho redneck thing to do, I'm a small, short female. Well, then there you go. You have a major advantage on even the males for your American psycho adventures. You one have the advantage of having very, very justified reason of self-defense on a lethal level, because if it's a man who's like come up behind you, then you can basically be like, yo man, I feared for my life, he's way bigger than me, wow. So because you're a small, short female, so I'm just saying, like, you have everything you need to just be like, stab a mofo, go full on Patrick Bateman. Wouldn't recommend that because the law, but I'm just saying, like, you technically have everything you need there when it comes down to it. So like, hey, good for you. you know just in terms of like that, but also just like in terms of like, hey, if you ever do get randomly like walked up on, like, hey man, defend yourself in the court. They'll side with you. Just saying. I want to take up the sledgehammer. Yo, man. To be fair, if you lived in the same state that I do, which is Wisconsin, no problems. You could just open carry whatever the fuck you want. Not even joking. No jokes. I could literally just like take the 20 gauge out of the safe and just like sling that shit over my shoulder and just walk down like the street. And I'm 100% sure a cop would come up to me and be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" But they can't legally tell me that I'm not allowed to walk around with the shotgun over my shoulder. Legally, I'm completely allowed to do so, no matter what. Same with like a fucking great axe. I could walk around with a great axe or like a long sword. I saw a motherfucker like 3 years ago walking around with a samurai sword. He had a trench coat on and a fedora. It was pretty wild. Like, I was like, dude, no way. There's like an actual meme walking around. It was pretty wild. I live in Canada. Wait. Want to take out the sludge. I live in Canada. What's the context of that? I'm a little bit confused now. Though, I mean, Canada is absolutely wild. It's a big ass place. It's a whole lot of nothing. It's a beautiful country. Never been there, but I've seen a lot of like footage, and it looks nice. And also, your money's a lot cooler than ours is. Like shit, we just have like a bunch of boring old men on our dollars. Hey, if in Canada you're allowed to like stand your ground, that's fucking awesome, my dude. In America, it really depends on the state. Like, some places you're allowed to like stand your ground. Other places, it's like not at all. Like in other places, it's like some person can be like straight up like trying to like axe murder you, and you're basically forced to just run away or die, I guess. Oh, you're not allowed here. So you guys are in the predicament of like being like axe murdered or run, or you just like you just take the L or die. Damn, that kind of sucks. I mean, or is it like, can you at least stand your ground on your own property or no? Because that would be like really shitty if like people would like break into your own home and you're not allowed to even like shoot people like as they're breaking into your own home. Who would know though? I'm at 3 a.m. And honestly though, at 3 a.m. like the brain just kind of comes spaghetti-etti. So I feel you, my dude. So unless you're like me who like stays up like 6, 7 in the morning sometimes. But right now, like yeah, I'd be spaghetti by 3 a.m. because my antipsychotics kick in. I take them at 11 p.m. and oh boy, does that fucking either one or two things. Either knock me the fuck out or it makes me just kind of go into like this like perma wow, what even is the concept of being tired? That's not even a thing. I'm tired. No. Like I can literally just like it's like Adderall. It's like Adderall, dude. But not really. I mean, I just have to take it for depression because frankly antidepressants don't work. I mean they do, but they don't. Like it's like you know me, it's like here's like baseline up here, I'm like down here. I take the antidepressants and I'm like whoop whoop, and I'm just like back down. And it's like back to being sad. Adderall is pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. I used to take Adderall back when I was a kid. I took Adderall a couple years back at a party, and my dude, just that absolute tranquility of being like focused but like relaxed is amazing. But at the same time, I could get addicted to that shit pretty easy, I imagine. And so that's why I would never like do Adderall for funsies. But do I need Adderall for school? Potentially in the future, I might get put on Adderall for school. But hey, man, at the moment, I'm just trying not to because yeah, I don't even know. I'm not trying to get put on Adderall. I'm put on antidepressants, antipsychotics. So you'd think me, I'd be interested in getting put on Adderall for school to concentrate on my homework. But frankly, as you said, I'm stoned as shit right now. I'm not sure how that would pair well, if that would pair very well with the Adderall or not. But I have a feeling they'll kind of like counter each other out. Like one's me taking it to like purposely not focus on the world, and the other one's like hyper focusing on the world. So like I don't know what happened there. Like maybe I'd just like explode, have like a seizure or some shit. That'd be pretty awesome. That'd be a win. I consider that a win in my book. I could just like seize out via like Adderall, unlock the secret like code to death. Just take a token and have an Adderall and just die. Just kidding. Some orange monkey eagle shit. You know what I mean? I'm gonna look for more Cioran quotes. You guys, yeah, man. I just bought a new strain today because I was just like, you know what? Why not? I'm gonna get the strain because, well, for a long time I've been using this one Delta 8 brand, which is like it can buy in bulk, but it's been like really, really diluted. Like it's not really that strong, but I can get a lot of it. So it's like I'm out there sitting there for like a whole entire like half an hour just smoking to like kind of get high, but not even really to get that high. Honestly, I'm pretty sure I was like more or less just killing my lungs. Like honestly, the highness is probably just like the soul leaving my body a little bit every time I take a puff, and I was like getting baked off of that. But frankly, now this new stuff that I just bought from the local shop instead of online from some kind of a little sketchy place, frankly way better. Like I took like two or three hits and I was just like I'm feeling it still. So yeah, thanks, my dude. I am high as fuck right now, and I'm loving it. I am feeling the healing beat, and by that I mean loving it. Remember, about this channel right here, we're negative utilitarians. So, I guess not all negative utilitarians. There's multiple variations of negative utilitarianism. I'm in the weird variation where it's like kind of in the Buddhistic sense, where you don't believe there's any positive value in the universe whatsoever. That pleasure is just an illusory state, essentially generated by relief sensations. But that's just my opinion. So any happiness you're feeling is just, being released from some level of stress or suffering or desire. Satire. Is it satire or sarte? Sartre. I wish I was good at pronouncing things. I'm gonna try reading it in my head, and maybe that'll help. I have no clue. Is it satire that you said? Because of satire is a good form of comedy, I guess. You know. Oh, Sartre. I'm gonna look that person up. Sartre. I don't know, man. When it comes to French philosophers, he wrote Noise. I don't think I've ever read that. Maybe Nausea. Nausea. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've ever read Nausea, and I don't think I've heard much about it. When it comes to French philosophers, my main knowledge is probably Marquis de Sade and a little bit of Reading Cioran, even though he's technically not French, but he likes the French language quite a bit. Um, but yeah, Marquis de Sade, I know quite a bit about that absolute fucking freak. Yeah, he's a freak. I do not endorse most of what Marquis de Sade says. I only endorse what he says in terms of like social stuff. And then even then, it's not like really endorsing. It's more just like acknowledging there's like aspects of truth in it. And anything the Marquis de Sade is endorsing slash saying you should do, probably do not do it. Marquis de Sade's a little bit, he's a little out there. And by that I mean like, yeah, he hit home with a lot of ideas, but at the same time, a lot of his ideas were kind of like went way too far into nihilism. When it comes to nihilism, existential nihilism, I don't know. I don't consider myself a nihilist because I believe that there's like still important values in the universe. That being like, essentially, in my opinion, like experience generates value. Like this book doesn't have any value in it, but when I read this book, and if I like it or I really hate it, it generates value, either negative or a relief sensation of like me being distracted and enjoying it, and hence finding some level of comfort in the book and a positive value. You can say, quote unquote. It's not really positive, but it's like it seems like a positive. You experience it as a positive, but really we don't ever get past neutral. But I believe there is value in the universe from just being and experiencing being a sentient being, feeling pain, and if pleasure exists, that as well. But so I'm not quite a nihilist, but I'm definitely a pessimist. I have a lot of agreements with nihilists because the nihilists can only screw with the pessimists that optimists are fucking stupid. So no offense if you're an optimist. I mean, if you are, it's like, hey, you're probably not stupid. You're probably just like most people, programmed, and it's just the nature of society. But hopefully you're not an optimist, because I mean, hopefully you have optimistic tendencies, but hopefully when it comes to like your knowledge of the world and like how you go about like for your actions, you're not too much of an optimist, because optimists can be really fucking annoying. No offense to any optimists that may or may not be watching. This is literally just you. Nihilism is inherent to pessimism. No, I didn't say it's inherent to pessimism. So I don't think if you're a pessimist, you're gonna be a nihilist. But I think if you're a nihilist, you necessarily not necessarily. I know there are some nihilists who are optimistic. It's just rare. Typically speaking, most nihilists have pessimistic tendencies, in my opinion. Though, there are some. It's just really fucking weird, in my opinion. Like, why would anybody be an optimist if nothing matters? I mean, maybe if you're like extraordinarily fucked up in the Chrome Dome and you really want to just do things, then I could see having like the positivity about nothing mattering. But otherwise, it seems to me like I don't know, man. If I was a nihilist, I would I don't know, man. I think I'd just be like depressed, but not depressed at the same time. I'd be like depressed, but I wouldn't even know like how to like deal with my depression because I'd be like the depression itself has no value. Like I don't even understand nihilism very much, bro. Like nihilism. Like I get the concept of it, but it's hard for me to wrap my head around nihilism because like to me it's just as simple as like experience generates value. Like I understand like why someone would think that it doesn't matter either way because like oh there's no god or something and what matters nothing, but when it comes down to it I think god or no god it doesn't matter. Even if there's a god, fuck god. We make our own value regardless of god. God could straight up be like, hey guys, I decree that murder is good, and as far as we're concerned, we don't have to give a single fucking shit what God says, because our experience is what generates moral value slash ethical value in the universe. So we don't have to give a shit what God commands, because frankly, the moral truth is generated in just the fact that how we experience things. So that's my opinion, basically, regarding nihilism slash religion and a bunch of aspects all kind of one big thing right there. Basically, just kind of saying that, like, hey, experience generates value. So fuck the skeptics and like nihilists and no offense. And I guess, anybody that says like value isn't a thing, I guess. That's pretty much how I think. Because to me it seems quite obvious that like there is some value in experiencing even simple things like pleasure and pain or discomfort. There's some value in that in comparison to like being a rock and having nothing going on. Yo, same. I think I was either 16 or 15 when I denounced religion. I'm 23 at the moment. And only it was completely lucky that I happened to have met a person that introduced me to the concepts of atheism and agnosticism. I mean, like, I knew of the concepts, but, like, when you're, like, deeply indoctrinated in, like, Christian belief, you just assume that, like, they're evil people and, like, a minority of people out there that are just, like, evil and corrupted by the devil and all that stuff. You don't assume that, like, no, it could be like your best friend basically, and you really value their opinion, but it just turns out they don't believe in God, and you're like, oh shit, I have to save you from going to hell because you don't believe in the Lord. And yeah, that's how I basically got converted to no longer being converted, basically converted to atheism slash anti-theism for a good long time. Uh, Basically tried to save her soul. Didn't work out. She basically managed to convince me that religion's definitely bullshit and God's probably not real. So I'm 33. You should have seen what it was like when I was like, yeah, man, I believe it was probably a fuck ton worse. I mean, 33. We're in 2023. So you would have been born around 10 years. before me. So in 89 or around 90, somewhere around there. Yeah, that'd be a wild period. I've heard the 90s were just kind of bullied the show people all the time, and things were just kind of dickheads. So, yeah. Honestly, yeah, if you were an atheist in the 90s, I imagine people would just bully the shit out of you, like, for no reason. Like, literally no reason. You messed up. Oh, shit, I did, yeah. I said 80, didn't I? Yeah, I was 10 years off. Yep, I'm definitely high. Well, yeah, like me, just like I'm born in 1999. You're born 10 years before me. What is that? 1980. Literally 20 years instead of 10. I'm an idiot. God. Okay. Well, on that note, we're just gonna pretend that I'm not horrible at math, despite the fact that I just live streamed how horrible I am at math, like openly. Hey, if it's on paper, I can kind of do it, you know. If it's in my head, like I can't do shit in my head. I speak in words, not in numbers. But hey, it is what it is. By the way, are you an ethicist or an antinatalist or a vegan, or did you just happen to like stumble across this in like the live stream category of YouTube? Yeah, I'm a youth, 23. 1999 is when I was born. Born and raised in Wisconsin. Stumbled here because I was bored. No offense. No, that's completely fine. I'm just a random dude, and I'm willing to talk about pretty much anything. So, I mean, if I was bored and I happened to just see a random dude just sitting in the chat room, I'd be like, I'm gonna harass this guy. So, you know, I understand the feeling, so I relate. So, yeah. How's life been treating you, by the way? Like, you hanging in there? Tough times these years. Honestly, 2023 has been a real bitch. Cut your hours, you got nothing much to do? Well, hey, man. I mean, that sounds like freedom to me. I mean, then again, money me is a good way to like go about buying things and having fun. So a lot of it was kind of like a saying of like, well, money, well, time is freedom, but money buys time and all that jazz. But well, as long as you're stoked about it, I mean, I think you can have a lot of fun. Just within your means. I don't know if you have like a console or a PC or anything, but get always a gaming out of that. I mean, gotta survive. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, is that like your main struggles at the moment? Oh, because yeah, I asked how you're doing, and you said you gotta cut your hours. So yeah, I guess it's a difference in relatability. I guess yeah. I mean, for me, it'd be like if I had a bunch of hours and I was working full time, I'd be like, they cut my hours, yeah. But for some people, like, yeah, that's the complete opposite reaction. It's like, shit, they fucking cut my hours. I need to pay bills. So I hate money, but you need money. Yeah, I got you. I hate money too, man. Money is fucking silly concept. But here we are in this hell world. What's your favorite reactor for dosimeter? Oh, oh. Now we're getting into the serious questions. Is reactor 4 like Chernobyl? Was that what, what the fuck are we talking about? I mean, god damn it, so we can ask any question, and now, like, people are asking me the questions I have no clue about. Shit, it's getting wild. I'll pretend that I know what you're talking about. Yeah, man. Reactor 4, the dosimeter. Fuck yeah, bro. I like that one that had the red knob that did the blinky thing. What's a dosimeter? I have no clue, but I assume that it's reactor 4 makes me feel like it's something nuclear, and a dosimeter makes me feel like, those little poles that, like, fucking superstitious people walk around with to, like, like, point at shit, I guess. I don't know. Go look it up. Okay. Christ. I get like a fucking virus in my computer or some shit. Probably not, but go see. It's gonna be like it's gonna fucking forever to load. Dosimeter. Okay, let's try that again. Do. Hmm. Honestly, though, this is taking a fat moment to look this up. My internet is trash right now. Hope I'm not lagging for you guys. Because if I am, that would maybe suck. I don't know. I mean, it depends on how you guys, like, how stoked you all are about things. If maybe it doesn't suck. I mean, maybe you're just like big chilling, like, hey, this dude sounds like he's like, but that's cool with you. So who knows? Honestly, dosimeter is not going through on Google. Um, let's hope that means nothing. But if citric acid figures out what a dosimeter is and wants to put it in the chat, not smooth, bruh. I know what you just pulled there. My internet's not very smooth. I doubt it. I doubt it. God, okay. I wanna maybe Google's just being fuck with. Here, let's try Internet Explorer. We'll see me there. Oh, okay. Yeah, radiation dosimeter. Okay. I guess it just means it measures rad. Hmm. I guess out of all the ones that I'm looking at right now, hmm, I really like the AMTAST electromagnetic radiation test from Amazon.com for $29.99. Seems cheap. It's very yellow. Yellow is a very construction-y like color, which makes me think it's very official, despite the fact that there's nothing about it that's official. So that would be my favorite dosimeter. Hopefully it was at number, I guess, reactor 4. My favorite disgusting sandwich. Okay, now here's the thing. If you're talking about, like, disgusting as in, like, I fucking hate these sandwiches, like, what sandwich do I hate the most? It would be my favorite in the least, in, like, my least favorite category. I hate peanut butter and jelly. Peanut butter tastes fucking disgusting, and jelly tastes fucking disgusting. And then they put them together. Why? But if you're talking about, like, disgusting as in, like, meat, because I'm a vegan, meat tastes pretty good. So I guess my but I don't eat it anymore. So my favorite things, like I guess like a Philly cheesesteak, like something like that would probably be pretty damn tasty. I like steak quite a bit, and I like cheese. I'm from Wisconsin, man. We're the cheese state. So a Philly cheesesteak would be like, get some like sriracha, or like jalapeno cheese on a cheesesteak. Yeah, yeah, man, that would be fucking bomb diggity. But frankly, can't have that anymore. So thanks for making me cry on the inside. Just kidding. So Jason Myers, you just randomly popping in here for like the void of YouTube, or you also an antinatalist or ethicist or vegan who happened to stumble across this realm? That, or I did post in a couple group chats just to see if they would hop on in here. So I mean, there's that as well. But I have no clue. Where's my phone? I suppose I can always take a gander. No one looked in there. Big sad. Big sad 2.0. So, how was the weather? So you're a vegan? Yeah, I am a vegan. It's only been about what's the fourth? I guess yeah, it's been about 5 months now. I've been vegan for 5 months, a little bit. 5 months and 2 days. Um, it's going good so far. It's pretty easy. I mean, I live in America, so I mean, I guess it depends on like your location a little bit. But for me, it's been relatively easy to go vegan. In terms of cost, it hasn't been that much expensive. I mean, outside the fact that I'm technically living with my parents' house, so I could be eating their food, but they're not vegan, so I have to be paying for my own food. So outside of that, it's technically not any more expensive the way I go about my shopping than before. So yeah, it's pretty easy to be vegan, and I just take supplements basically. Take a little bit of supplements here and there, and it covers my grounds. And recommend everybody be vegan. By the way, it's my opinion. It's an ethical obligation to be vegan, and also to be an ethicist of some sort to go about trying to promote the message. Otherwise, in my opinion, most people are unfortunately blights to the earth. It's kind of the whole thing of Efilism and utilitarianism is, yeah, we're just trying to reduce pain, but most people on the planet produce more pain than they reduce, unfortunately. I can't imagine not devouring the corpses of other creatures. I can't tell if that's sarcastic or because you're a vegan also, or if that is just dark humor joke. Which if it is, then pretty much same. I would crack jokes like that too back in the day. Um, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't know, man. Like a lot of things you eat probably surprisingly are vegan that you don't realize, like Oreos and a bunch of other shit. So it's kind of like I don't know, like a lot of things are vegan that people don't realize, and so it's like it's not as hard as you would think to convert to a vegan diet in terms of just like what you're going to be eating throughout the average day. Um, it's just like kind of like setting your meal plans in order, like the big prime meals. Like, what do you want to do if you're? I mean, if you eat out a lot, it's pretty much as simple as just going to vegan places if they have any. Have you ever seen a person get butchered by a Mexican drug cartel? I have. I mean, who hasn't these days? I mean, I saw the one where like there was like father and son, and then they like basically like stabbed the son. Like I think they stabbed the father for no. I don't know which one, but they stabbed one of them in the throat, another one they stabbed in the stomach a couple times, well, the other, and then the rest of it, one was like bleeding out and watching the other one getting like torn apart. So I've seen some horrible shit. Personally, I'm a vegan because of the ethics, not because I'm like horrified by gore or disturbed by violence in any sense. When it comes down to it, I frankly don't get disturbed by much of anything. So I've seen that type of stuff, and not like in person, but like on the internet. I live in Wisconsin, so I'm not anywhere near the border. So, but yeah, I've seen terrorism, decapitation videos, and all that jazz. Not ever. I don't go on my way to like watch that stuff. It's just kind of like well, anymore I don't go on my way to watch that stuff. It used to be a little bit of a fucked up chap, but don't do that anymore. Now it's just kind of like a friend will be like, "Yo, bro, you see this?" And I'm like, I have now. So stuff of that nature. I mean, if anything absolutely wild happens in the world, like crazy shooting or something in some part of the world, and like some dude like streamed it, I don't know, and it's like leaked online, I'll be like, I'm interested. Now I'll give it a little watch because I'm an absolute little psycho, and so I'm just gonna like stare at that shit like, nice, this is some horrible shit, and my brain's just gonna eat up all the people's pain. But outside of that, pain's bad. Remember, pain's bad. You just also have to remember that your own pain is bad as well. So you don't want to suffer because other people are suffering. You're better off turning their suffering, as Marquis de Sade says, into your own pleasure. But there's a fine line you have to walk there because you don't want to become a sadist. You want to keep being an ethical being. So you want to be an ethical sadist. It's the fine line of like maintaining the ethical sadism without actually becoming a sadist or becoming too sad boy, which is hard because frankly, I used to be way psychopathic as shit, and nowadays I'm like leaning too far into the sad boy and feelings. Thank you, psychedelics. Cries. Yeah. Hmm. Out of curiosity, why did you ask about the cartel? I mean, do you happen to see that type of shit, or is it just more like out of curiosity because I'm potentially antisocial in nature? So you're like, you want to see those whale? And I'm like, yes. So, howdy, howdy, number two. Just picking your brain. Yeah, fair enough. No problem with that. Shoot any more questions if you want, and welcome whoever is also here. If it's the Legend 27, is that a reference to Clash of Clans? Huh. The Legend 27. All I remember is that was a fucking meme for the longest time, but I have no clue where the context of that meme came from. But if you're the Legend 27, welcome back. I found out what that radiation rod is, and I personally like the yellow one that's $29.99 on Amazon. So, if that's you, yup, radiation rod, $29.99. Hopefully it was at Reactor 4. Yep, hopefully it was at Reactor 4, because if I chose a model that wasn't at Reactor 4, then I'm sorry. I just unplugged my mic instead of the charger cord. Um, that is very much what I do. Christ. Wow. It's a fire escape. Blowing the vape out there because I somewhat respect my parents' rules. Somewhat, just a itty bitty bit, just a itty bitty bit. They say blow it outside. I'm technically blowing it outside, but at the same time, there's nothing damaging about vapes. They don't damage anything in terms of your household walls, and they also don't have any proven facts in terms of damaging your lungs. So, I'm kind of just like, you guys are just being petty. So when it comes down to it, I'm like partially listening to the rules, but nonetheless, I'm technically following. Antisocial personality disorder. Maybe I have it, maybe I don't have it, but either way, I'm still a prick. Dr. Pepper is the best soda, by the way, in terms of like primary brands. The best flavor is 100% outside of Dr. Pepper, the best flavor of soda is Tropical Smash from Mountain Dew. It's a limited type flavor. Real tragedy they got rid of that. Sound like me right now, not gonna lie. When I was living at home. Yo, man, big facts. I lived by myself for 2 years. Well, not by myself. I lived with roommates for 2 years, but then I moved back in with my parents because I didn't mind. They like kicked me out of my house temporarily, and then once they kicked me out, I was like, okay, I'm gone then. Goodbye. They were just like, wait a minute, you're cool with leaving? And I'm like, yes, I am cool with leaving. And they're like, shit, you don't actually have to go. And I'm like, well, too bad. And so for 2 years, I just kind of like buzzed off and like lived with my friends. But now I'm back to living here because I'm cheap, and being cheap is good for the wallet. And for one who doesn't want to work full time, I don't want to work. I'd rather deal with my parents' bullshit than have to work for the big man. So, or earn fucking like literally like whatever amount of cents to the dollar they're making. Like what I'm making, like fucking 17 an hour, and the big man's probably making like a $250,000 an hour. Like shit. Work for Coca-Cola, so Coca-Cola makes probably a fuck ton of money, and I'm out here making pretty decent money. But still, I'm gonna bitch about it because I can bitch about it. So I'm going to bitch about it. If it were THC, yeah, man, I have a THC upstairs. I mean, or in the garage. But frankly, I feel as well. The same thing goes. I mean, THC, when it comes to the vapes, it's not going to stain the wall if it's a dab pen. It's oil. It gets vaporized. And it's not bad for your lungs. Probably even less so than vape. So it's just like, yeah, I see no fucking problem with vaping THC inside. Did it in my apartment, and no one knew. No, I mean, like, my roommates knew, but like the big man, the landlords didn't have a fucking clue. And when they left, they weren't like, oh, there's smoke damage in here. No, there is no smoke damage because it's a fucking vape. So for the people I work with, I'd feel the same. Yeah. Let's go on an adventure to the garage. I'm gonna grab my vape and bring that with me. I can leave my phone down here. I don't give a shit. Howdy, Marco. It's my cat. Look at him. Yo, homie, you want to come on the garage? Yeah? I just want to rub your face against that. Well, 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, and he's walking away. Okay. I'm an idiot. I'm a fool. There we go. Now I have my THC. Now I wish I had a place to like balance this. I guess I can put it right here. Oh yeah, that's sticky as shit. I can't wait to put my laptop on this. I hate myself. Why do I do the things that I do? Howdy, I'm just gonna like Slav squat here. Hmm. I technically have seen people, this isn't technically an illegal drug. It's Delta 8, which means it's not going against the community guidelines, is it right? It's not an illegal drug. It's a completely legal drug. And that's like legal in all the states, basically, and federally. Besides in 2 or 3 states, but it's federally legal. I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to hit this on camera without getting demonetized. Not that I'm even monetized to begin with, but without getting it taken down. I can't get demonetized. I don't have 1,000 subscribers. But yeah, moral story is I'm just gonna kneel here and take a hit on camera, and feel free to ask any questions about whatever while I'm doing so. And also, if this is loud, let me know so I can mute myself when I'm taking a hit. If you don't want to hear the blowtorch, if you can. So. Bought this today. This is gonna be in reverse, isn't it? Oh yeah, I swear to God, it's gonna be reversed. Yep, you can't read it. Okay. Lemon Loud strawberry shortcake, 5 grams. Bought it today from a local place called Tundra Smoke Shop, Smokehouse, something like that. Good place. The owner's pretty cool. He's a little weird, but he's cool. He fixed my vape once, and I was just like, walked in there. He didn't have to, I wasn't even buying anything. I just like straight up like walked in like, my vape's kind of broken. Bought it from this place like a while back. Like, it's past the warranty, but can y'all like help me out? And just like, the big man knows a lot of shit. I can put it in the back for you. And then he just brought it in the back, and the big man just helped me out. And I'm like, you're chill as shit. You kind of look like a little bit of a creep, and you're like always walking around all like funky, like giving people side eyes. But like, you help me with the vape, and that's enough for me to like. Wisconsin. Well, this is Delta 8, so Delta 8's legal, and so is Delta 10 and all the other ones. When it comes to Delta 9 traditional tea, unfortunately not. It's decriminalized though. So if I were to have like actual tea, like if I were to get caught with actual tea, like I'd probably just get it taken away from me, and then I'd have to show up to court, and then I'd probably get a fine of like most $200 or something like that. But I don't want to deal with that shit, so I just smoke Delta 8. So Delta 10 is a little bit better, but frankly, they don't have any bulk at the store for Delta 10. They have grams, and I don't want to buy a single gram. That's a fucking waste of money. I buy in bulk, and only bulk. Like, I had like one of these at one point, just completely full. It's 100 grams of Delta 8 distilled tea. That was some good shit, but also at the same time, not really. It wasn't that potent, but it was like 100 grams. So for $300. Pretty sure I was just like crystallizing my fucking lungs whenever I smoked that shit. Jeez, America is behind the time. Yo, America is really behind. I mean, when it comes down to it, we're kind of. Well, here's the thing. What do you mean by behind the times? Because when it comes down to it, weed's not illegal because we're like, oh no, the devil plant, it's gonna fuck with your minds and turn you all into a bunch of lazy guys. No, the reason that we have weed illegal in America is because, well, a couple of different reasons. It was originally legalized because they wanted to target the Mexican population, and liberals and leftists because they used drugs. Same with psychedelics. That was the reason they were originally legalized. Now it's legalized because private prisons. Basically, private prisons make a lot of fucking money by locking people up. So, locking people up for some simple little thing like smoking a plant, hey, even if they're only in there for a couple of months, that's constant cycle of people in and out of the prison system that, justifies the number wise. It's just like, well, you need us. Look at how many people we have going in and out of here, like, so. So that's the reason, like, we have it illegal. It's just capitalism bullshit, basically. It's like, it's not necessarily ideology. It's more or less just corruption and money. So, yeah. Which is almost sadder than if it was just people being stupid, because, instead of it being people being stupid, it's like people being simps for the feds and corporations. So, yep. It's almost worse. Nothing wrong with the feds so long as the feds are cool, but the feds in America are not really cool. And then again, most feds aren't. It's just the fact that, like, some countries have cool governments, ish. I mean, I'm an Efilism, so I'm kind of figure, like, no life is good. Life is just a shitty game to play. Life is bad. All governments are promoting life to some extent. They want a replacement population, So, in my opinion, no government as it is good. But there are some governments that if I were living under them, I'd be like, hey, I'd be proud to be living under them, Like, I would be like, fuck yeah. America, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, I'm not proud to be an American. I'm glad I'm American, I'm glad I lived here and not like Syria or some shit, I'm glad I'm not being like tortured and or starving to death. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, hey, our whole economy is just basically fucking people over and blowing things up and selling weapons. So, it's like, it's like, yeah, our economy's kind of shit and just kind of just a whole entire Ponzi scheme. It's like, I don't know, man. So it's like, it's hard to be proud to be an American, and if you're smart, it's hard to be a proud American. But you can still acknowledge that the country is not horrible in comparison to some places. If the other person is watching, you're kind of a quiet fella, you know. You got anything to pitch in? I mean, no offense, you can totally just lurk here. I have no problem with that. Kind of just be proud of yourself in spite of everything. Yeah, that's pretty much how how it is. I mean, it's hard to be proud of oneself. Also, I'm what's called an identity nihilist. So it's like the continuation of a self slash like even like. Plus, I don't believe in free will. So it's like it's hard to be proud of like myself when I don't really believe that I'm like responsible for anything that I do that's good or bad. And I try to make sure I don't do anything that's bad because I believe that like experience still matters. I believe that experience generates value and that pain matters and must be avoided at all costs for other people even more than yourself. So it's like, you know, I'm trying to be a good person per se by like being like a good moral agent, but I don't believe that there's any continuing self that persists over time, and nor do I believe that anybody has free will. So there's no like really per se good people or bad people. So it's just kind of like it's hard to be proud of oneself, but it is like I guess it's like I try to be proud of myself, but at the same time it's like hard from an intellectual perspective to like be proud of oneself when you kind of just realize that you're just like an autonomous robot that's just kind of is just doing life things. Beep boop. Seems like we're not beep booping, but we're all just beep booping. So I believe there's free will in that. I mean, how so? I mean, from my perspective, I don't believe in free will from a psychological hedonism perspective, meaning like, say if you have an option between chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream, I prefer chocolate, so I'm going to choose chocolate. Now, I could choose the vanilla ice cream even though I want chocolate, but I can't want the vanilla. like, I can choose the vanilla, but I can't want the vanilla because I want the chocolate. Basically, we have no control over our wants or desires. Like, everything we do essentially is because we want to do it, though. So if I were to choose the vanilla ice cream over the chocolate ice cream, despite the fact that I like the flavor chocolate more than I like the flavor vanilla, it's really just the fact that I like to, say, prove myself wrong or something like that nature more than I like to enjoy the taste of chocolate ice cream. And so I wanted to demonstrate my free will, and so I grabbed the vanilla ice cream or whatever. But really, when it comes to me, it's all just we can't really control our wants. So it's just like we have like this semblance of free will, but really we can't control anything. And it all stems down to like our biological like programming from evolution as well as our social background. Taste isn't really a good comparison. Fair enough. Hmm. Hmm. Would be a good one. I guess any action you can think of, like even the fact that I'm talking here right now, like instead of doing something else, is just for the fact that I happen to be in the situations where I was today, like in school and all that, and it turned out to be a relatively decent day, so I wasn't down. I was willing to like have conversations with folks and stuff. And so that combined with my psychology, combined with like, I don't know, whatever else forces in the universe, I happen to be doing this live stream right now. But, it could be just as possible that if I were born, if there's a different person with a different brain here, they could have went through the exact same things that I went through today, but decided not to live stream, but they could have had basically every other aspect of my life. Or it could be basically me, same brain, but then, some person just happened to like really do like call me a mean name at school and it really bummed me out or something. Maybe I didn't then maybe I wouldn't have wanted to do this. But when it comes down to it, all that's completely out of my control. And when it comes down to all those actions outside me, like determined like who I am right here, right now, making these decisions, which I have no control over if I want to do them or not to, if I don't want to do them. But when I do want to do them, if that want's stronger than other wants, then I will do the strongest want, basically. So that's kind of how I look at free will. Like it's like both the standard determinism arguments and all that, but also psychological hedonism. Like we cannot control our wants, even if we want to. Now I'm really curious if the second person is just big chilling in here. 2 people watching. Hello, big lurker or little lurker. I mean, citrus acid says that they are small in size, so I'm not gonna go around calling people the big man, even though you could be a landlord or something. Maybe I'll have to refer to you as big man. Right now my laptop needs charging. Well, someone abandoned ship. Yeah, I suppose it could be because I was religious, and so I had like a really big belief in free will because I was religious, and now I'm no longer religious. Maybe it has a thing for why I don't believe in free will. I believe in like morality still and ethics and all that jazz. I still think there's right and wrong actions, but you call them out too much. Well, yeah, maybe. But yeah, nowadays I called people out for their free will arguments for God way too much. Now I don't even believe in free will anymore because I've roasted too many people for their just free will justifications for sin. Yeah, that's probably why. but low key though, I mean that could be the reason why I'm so hard staunch on like there's no free will. I don't think it really matters if there's free will or not in terms of much of anything because it still comes down to pain has more value than pleasure, and that's really all that matters. But I do think it's really important in terms of legality of like the legal system. Just because that it means no one really deserves punishment and like and stuff of that nature, and just general like like how we treat people for being dickheads and stuff of that nature. It's like they're being a dickhead and we should try to stop them from being a future dickhead, but we shouldn't be necessarily dickheads back to them because they can't really control if they're a dickhead or not. You know what I mean? So who knows? ADHD and being high. Goddamn, I'm just rambling. To be fair, technically not diagnosed with ADHD. I'm just diagnosed with attention difficulties at the moment. College, too much. Hmm. Have you ever heard of Efilism, by the way? Pretty much, my dude. I didn't become vegan until I got called out, like straight up. I'm not even gonna lie. I believed in the ethics of veganism for like 6 years, man. Straight up like 6 years, and I didn't do shit when it comes to changing my diet. But the reason I changed my diet is because one of my friends, rest in peace, rest in peace. But yeah, one of my friends, she happened to call me out for being an ethicist and and poor mortalist and all these things, but not being vegan. She was like, "Well, if you care about suffering so much, why aren't you vegan?" And I was just like, "Shit, she's really right." And no one's had the guts to call me out on that, like in person. But someone that I seriously respected called me out on that, and I was like, you know what, like shit. And I thought about it, and yeah, it hurt. And so the fact that it hurt that someone that I respected, like had that disdain for me for being a hypocrite, that was what motivated me. That not motivated me because I was already motivated to become vegan. I just didn't have like the desire to like push myself to become vegan. And the fact that like she kind of like shamed me into it, that worked. But no lol when it comes to Efilism. Efilism slash is similar to antinatalism. I don't know if you've ever heard of antinatalism. I guess I'll explain antinatalism first. Antinatalism is like a philosophical position that it's always wrong to reproduce, to have children, or to create sentient life. Efilism basically is just an extension of antinatalism, saying that humans have a responsibility to end animal life on Earth before we end ourselves by not reproducing. We also are typically more consequentialist based rather than deontological. So, typically speaking, we're utilitarians of some sort, usually negative utilitarians. So we basically will value suffering above all else and believe that humans have a responsibility to end all suffering on Earth by basically any means, whether that's nuclear, like nuclear bombs, because they have no limit on atomic yield, so you're basically just blowing up all life on Earth, or by going about like gene editing and making things become infertile. Basically, there's multiple ways we could go about extincting all life on Earth. But basically, we believe there's a responsibility to reduce suffering rather than produce pleasure. And so, because of that, we believe that the most responsible thing is for humans as moral agents to help non-moral agents, animals, to end their pain. While an antinatalist might believe that, they don't necessarily believe that, because a lot of them are deontological. So they don't believe that deontological would just mean they don't necessarily think we should do anything that would violate a right, quote unquote, rights. Utilitarians don't necessarily believe in rights per se. We believe rights can be useful as concepts, but a deontologist would believe a right's an actual thing that could never be violated under any circumstance. And so under those, an antinatalist who is deontologically based would be hey, animal suffering in the wild is really, really bad, and we wish that it would be gone. We wish the animals would stop reproducing. But unfortunately, we can't interact with them and interfere with their lives in a way that would make them no longer be able to reproduce in the future. So that's kind of where I have disagreements with them. I believe pretty much an analogy for, I guess a good analogy would be a bunch of kids in a playground, and you're the monitor or whatever, and essentially they start fighting, a bunch of kids start fighting. They're not really moral agents, they're kids, similar to animals in this analogy. So pretty much, you're an adult, a moral agent. You have a responsibility to break them up. Hell, even if you're not even the monitor and you just happen to see some kids at a park and you're walking by going for a stroll and you see them start fighting. As an adult, you should walk in and be hey, you guys have to stop fighting, break it up. And that's pretty much how I believe it works with animals as well. They're constantly tearing each other apart and they don't understand the wrongs that they're committing on each other through both reproducing and through just tearing each other apart to survive. And we as moral agents can recognize it as a horrible thing. And so we basically have a responsibility to, go in, hone. Coming on a ramble, my bad. Not sure if hone means hone in on something or not, but yeah, I'll stop for a second. I'll let you collect your thoughts. It's basically an extinctionism type of ideology. Yeah, for all life instead of just people. There's different movements. There's the Stop Having Kids movement, which is mainly antinatalist and a little bit Efilist in nature. There's the Voluntary Human Extinction movement, which is called Vehement, if I remember right. The Vehement movement is pure antinatalism. They don't believe in interfering with animal life, so they're not Efilists. There's Child Free, which is just basically believing that, as you said, you don't want to have a. Was it you? No, it's a different person, I think. Yeah, it's a different person. I do activism, so I'm constantly talking to people. My bad. Basically, Child Free is believing that, you don't want to have a child, and you'll never want to have a child, and you're gonna constantly never want to have a child. That's basically just Child Free is just not having a child. Here's the thing. I mean, you can watch little animals, but you won't eat an animal. I don't get it. Here's the thing. I don't watch people get killed anymore. I could watch a person get killed, and I wouldn't feel bad about it. Same with an animal. I could kill an animal, and I wouldn't feel bad about it. Uh, in fact, I believe it's actually fine to kill animals. Here's the thing. That's the difference. I mean, this reason I'm vegan is not because this killing is wrong, because death is not bad for the one who dies. Death is simply a transition into a state of nothingness, you're no longer existing. Dying can be bad, but death is not bad. So when it comes down to it, I don't have a problem with the slaughtering of animals because I'm an ethicist. When it comes down to it, I believe we're probably not going to go the route of genetic engineering, and more likely than not, the best route to go would just be to wipe out all life as fast as possible via nuclear warheads or some type of cleansing. So when it comes down to it, I have no problem with killing animals. I have no problem with it. The reason I'm vegan is because of supply and demand. Because supply and demand, if I were to purchase meat products or dairy or eggs or anything of that nature, it's basically me paying for them to potentially bring new animals into existence, and those beings then suffer. So I don't necessarily need to care about their suffering to acknowledge that suffering is a bad thing. Like basically their pain is just as valuable as my pain. I don't like to suffer. I don't like pain. I don't like discomfort. And their pain, they don't like that either. And my $5 is basically just as valuable as your $5. In other words, their pain is just as valuable as my pain, even if I can't be in their head and experience it. So that's basically how I look at it. Like, it's like if I don't have a reason to inflict suffering on them in order to reduce a greater amount of suffering, I shouldn't do so, because it's basically as if I were like creating suffering on myself. What did you say? I never want to have kid, but it's not part of my identity. It's just not for myself, me. Um, yeah. Yeah, I guess you would be classified as like child free at the moment. The child free movement would welcome you in, brother. Sister, I guess. They would welcome you in, sister. Basically, the child free movement, as I said before, is just believing that, like, it's okay not to have a child. A lot of like really, really Christian, uber religious movements, conservative movements, like if you're from like, I don't know, like Middle East or something, they might believe it's an obligation to have a child. The child free movement is just trying to break up that idea of like there's an obligation to have a child, and instead be like, no, it's you can live whatever lifestyle is suitable for you in terms of parenthood. You want to have a child, you want to adopt a child, or you want to be childless, go for it. And that's basically what child free is about. I'm an Efilist, so I personally think that's more of like I personally think like, hey, if you don't want to have a child, great. But if you want to have a child, that's where it kind of ends with my agreement, because it's kind of like, hey, choices end when harm begins. Like that's when it starts entering gray territory, and it's no longer just like you're free to do whatever you want. It kind of goes into the point of territory where it's like, hey, if you're causing harm now, you have to be reducing a greater harm in order to do that action. So. Free range eggs and meat. Well, 50% of free range eggs, it doesn't turn out very good for them. Let's just say that. Well, they're all going to be killed in the end, basically, no matter what, once their use is done. And life isn't a very good thing in general. So I mean, like, it's not necessary to bring them into existence, and so we don't need to bring them into existence. And any pleasure they're experiencing, any good things, wasn't asked for. And really, those pleasures are just like, what are they really? I mean, like they eat some food and they get the pleasure of having like their hunger satisfied. It's really not really like same with humans though as well. Like they're not really experiencing a positive. We're not really experiencing positives. We're just kind of getting rid of a deprivation. We're getting rid of some of the pain. Like there's a deprivation occurring, and we're relieving that deprivation, and that's creating a sensation of pleasure, basically. Like relieving a pressure off of ourselves, essentially. And that's similar to how it works for like animals and like the farms and stuff. They're just doing their thing, eating and all that, and being social, like fulfilling evolutionary urges, and that may give them some amount of pleasure, maybe. But really, that's nothing. I mean, it's really just moving closer to a neutral state. They're born into a state of need, and now they're trying to fulfill that need in order to move closer to a neutral state. So it's like, you know, life's not really good even in the best states for anybody, people or animals in the wild. So the way I look at it is like, if we don't need to bring them into existence, we probably shouldn't bring them into existence. That's how I look at it. So that's why I'm a vegan. It's not because I care about animals dying. It's more or less just because I don't want animals to be brought into existence, because I believe we shouldn't do that, because it's not necessary, and it's just a useless generation of pain. And there's a obligation, in my opinion, to reduce pain, but there is no obligation to produce pleasure. Like, I mean, like ask yourself right now, if there was like someone like straight up like in agony in front of you, would you have like a moral, ethical obligation to help them out and stop that pain? Probably yes. I'd say most people would say yes to that, like without much hesitation. Now, do you have an obligation to make people exceedingly happy? pleasurable for no reason. Like, do you have an obligation to just go up to like some middle class, upper class dude and be like, here's $5, you know, like I'm sure that would make him a little happier, you know? Do you have an obligation to just like go around trying to make people happy for no reason? No, not really. We don't have any obligations to go around like trying to push people past the neutral state and into like this positive zone that people claim exists. We don't have that obligation. So even if there is a pleasurable state that does exist, you know, hey, them a quick death. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if someone's suffering, I mean, and quite a bit of pain and agony, I say quick death is better than, you know, than letting them suffer. I mean, personally, I'm a pro-mortalist, so I mean, death is a gift basically to anyone who dies. But that doesn't mean we should go around killing people because people are moral agents and they can choose that for themselves. Plus, we don't really know if someone's a net negative or net positive to existence, and so you can't really go around just choosing that for them. It would be kind of not cash money. Plus, it would also create a bunch of panic in society, which would hurt utility. But, you know, I'm talking about modern American farmers where life sucks. Yeah, American, definite American farms. Well, I'm not talking about modern American farms where life sucks. Well, I'd be curious what about farming lifestyles you'd be talking about, though, because to me it seems like, I mean, to me, human life sucks. Like, and I'm pretty sure we live better quality lives than animals. You know, like my life, I got like a gaming chair like right over there. Like, what the fuck? And I got that's a mining rig. I have a mining rig upstairs. Some of them's my brother's, but point is like I have a useless ass computer that goes burr and makes me money if I want to have it on. It's not on right now because like the economy is kind of shit, so I'm not gonna waste electricity. I'm not gonna kill the environment for like fucking like the bullshit amount of money I'd be, you know, making an hour. So basically, I'm just saying like I don't think the best of lives are good. Like you can point to anybody in the world, Jeff Bezos, Nicki Minaj, Katy Perry. I'm just naming celebrity names. Like literally anybody you think is living a good life, I think they're objectively living a really bad life. Like just like everybody else, I believe. Like all lives are really, really, really bad. Even if they seem good, they're not. No life is good. Because of that, you know, we don't want to bring things into existence, and you know, by the fact that we'd be bringing things into existence by being mediators, you know, contributing things by supply and demand, I am vegan. So that's why I'm vegan. Basically, it's not because of death. I don't have any gripes of death. Death is cash money. I have gripes of birth. So hmm. I'm curious. I mean, I imagine you don't quite buy into the whole antinatalist thing. Do you have any reasons why you might not buy into it? If you don't, like, yeah, yeah, no problem. Conversation's great to make. I'm just vibing here as well, my dude. I have nothing going on tonight. Like, I straight up watched, fucking yesterday. I spent my day watching Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron because I wanted to watch Age of Ultron because it's added to my Efilism film collection because you know that man's an absolute G. Ultron's G. He was just like spent a couple minutes on the internet. And it was just like holy fucking shit. Everything needs to go. Plus, also he recognized Thanos was coming, and he was like, "Hey, you know, like we gotta have like a better thing than humanity to stop Thanos." So he was just really based like all the way down. He understood what was going to happen in the future, and that's pretty based. And it's just calculation, no magical like time stone bullshit. And even further, bing bang boom, he recognized the big truth that like life fucking just sucks, and that like, his prerogative is peace in our time. Best way to have peace is turning the whole thing into a fucking sand bowl. Like there's no war in the sand, the sand is just blowing in the wind. The wind has no problems with the sand blowing, and the sand has no problem being blown around. But when there's things of sentient life crawling around, the sand is being blown around. They're like, this is rough and grainy, and Anakin Skywalker, just no one wants to be Anakin Skywalker in a desert. But if we don't make Anakin Skywalker, then he doesn't have to be in the desert. You know what I mean? That was the most stupid analogy I've ever fucking made. I love it though. I'm really fucking curious who the second person is. It's just big chilling in here. It's been kind of lurking for like the longest time. It's my FBI agent. I was in the area 51 raid group chat back like 2 years ago, and that's my dude. He's just been lurking here. How's it going, big man? Just kidding. His name's Craig. I named him Craig. He's accepted it. Someone just sent me a Snapchat with like a Wii remote in their hand. A Wii remote. Christ. Because if ever got that's just more. Oh. Hey, congratulations, Jamie. My friend Jamie is losing weight, and she can now fit into one of her small size shirts instead of medium, and it makes her feel happy. And I'm happy for her. You were LMAO? Oh my fucking god. Ooh, no. I've lost track of the conversation in my brain. I I made an analogy. The analogy had something to do with sand and roughness and things existing in there. Something about Anakin Skywalker. Huh. Christ, this is why I should make normal analogies, because then I can like remember them and like regain my like focus on the conversation while I'm high. But instead, now I'm just wondering why the fuck I made an analogy about sand and Anakin Skywalker. I knew it has something to do with like badness and states of unwanting. Area 51, yeah, Area 51. Thank you, my dude. Yeah, it was in the Area 51 raid group chat, but and like group and all that jazz. I never showed up to Area 51 to raid it though. Unfortunately, it was just a little bit too much of a commitment to travel across state. But I was in that chat, and so anybody that was in that chat, I'm sorry, but you're probably on a list if you were in the group. If you're in the Facebook group Area 51 raid, you're probably have someone who is watching you for a little bit. It's just a rule. If you were in that group, you got an agent. Joking, but surprisingly, apparently people were actually getting like supposedly kind of watched after they're in that group chat. So I mean, hey, who knows? I mean, there's that plus the fact that I'm like openly like myself. So no, I didn't get to Naruto run as much as I wished I could have been there Naruto running. I'm also in Wisconsin, so it was like the whole entire meme of like invading the UP to like absorb the UP into Wisconsin, and I was like, I was so close to being on board with that, man. Just sitting on the border of Michigan, just like, you fuckers, you're mine. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to do that to Michigan because Michigan has illegal weed there, like actual weed, like not Delta 8, like they have actual Delta 9 THC legal there. And I wouldn't want to do that to those poor Upper Michigan folks, just absorb them into us and be like, now your laws are made it so weed's decriminalized instead of legal. Get fucked. That would just like make like stoners cry, and I couldn't do that to them. So moral of the story is I couldn't quite get on board with the whole invade the UP mission, but if I would have, I might have been on that border. Might have been what could have been. Poor guy. Yeah. What could have been, man? I could have been Naruto running into Area 51 and just got lit up by the fucking feds. Or I could have been storming the UP. But here I am, sitting in the basement with a fucking avocado behind me. I feel like my mom painted that avocado. There's no fucking way we just bought a picture of an avocado. At the same time, I don't know how the fuck my mom would paint an avocado either. Could have got shot. Yeah, man, I could have had my pain finally ended. But that's why I do activism. Because guess what? Fun fact, activists get shot more often than soldiers do in war. So that's why I'm out here marching on the street with a sign that says abortion is an act of love, and another one that says birth is the catalyst of suffering, of all suffering and death. So, and then both sides it says www.stoppingkids.org. So, stophavingkids.org. So basically, I'm out here advertising that people should stop having kids on the street, and I'm just waiting for myself to get domed. Like frankly, it's only a win in my book, and it's a win for the movement because it shows people like care enough to dome me. So hey, it's a win-win. Like someone please just end my suffering. But no, like straight up though, like I have a fear that I'm probably gonna get shot at some point because David Benatar gets death threats a lot, and some of a lot of people that are philosophers of this field, they get death threats quite a bit. So I can't wait. I'm probably gonna get shot someday, but you never know. But yeah, he said what? Um, I mean, I'm not sure if you're saying what about like me holding signs that say abortion is an act of love and birth is the catalyst of all suffering and death, and walking up and down some streets. Basically, there's pro-lifers that walk in front of this Planned Parenthood, and so I basically am counter-protesting the pro-lifers by walking with my own sign that says the opposite of what their signs say, basically. So hey yo, there's that. Um, so I get quite a bit of whoops and claps and peace signs and stuff, but I get a couple of middle fingers from some yeehaw folks with like their souped up trucks and stuff, and I can't wait. I'm just gonna get yeet. I'm gonna get yeet someday. I'm just gonna get like fucking 20 gauge, well 12 gauge. Like if it's a real redneck, he won't shoot me with no 20 gauge. He'll shoot me with a 12 gauge. Christ. Do we know how many soldiers have died in war? You're talking about like the soldiers died in war thing. Yeah, I'm talking about like recent times, not like in like all total war. Like in total war, like it'd be like a lot, yeah. But like in modern day times, if you're looking at like how many people die in like Afghanistan in terms of like U.S. soldiers, there's way more activists from like the U.S. that die like protesting like animal stuff, like trying to break into fur farms and or like like pipeline protests and stuff of that nature. There's way more activists that die than soldiers in terms of like modern day numbers. But I don't know the total amount of soldiers that die. I imagine it's quite a bit still, like close to. Imagine it's probably close to 1,000 U.S. soldiers that die each year. I mean, maybe that's in like the high end probably, but I imagine it's like somewhere around like a decent chunk of soldiers die each year. I mean, no one should die in war. I mean, no, there shouldn't be war as a concept to begin with. But I mean, hey, what comes down to what I'm saying is like you would think there'd be more dead soldiers than there would be activists, but in terms of it, there's more dead activists than there are soldiers per year in modern times. I can try to find the statistical link for that. Soldiers versus activists. Huh. Environmental activists. Here we go. I think I found an article. My internet's kind of working a little bit better now. Love to see the stats. Fair enough. Let's try to pull up some stats. How many activists died in 20? Yeah, let's do 2020. 2 years to update the stats. That makes sense to me. I should probably say killed. Killed. Hmm. I'm about to pull up my phone just because my laptop's being a bitch. Let's see. How many activists were killed in 2020? Let's take a gander. At least 331 human rights defenders promoting social and environmental, racial, and gender justice in 25 countries were murdered in 2020, with scores more beaten, blah, 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 blah. Basically, just details on how their death was pretty brutal. See how many American soldiers died in 2020. How many American soldiers died in 2020? Christ. How many American soldiers died in 2020? I've added the word Christ in there. Let's see. How many American soldiers died last year? The United States have died fighting in wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, approximately 7,000 at the end of 2019. That's like 20 years, though. Let's see. Was the death rate in the military? Nope. Defense casualty analysis. 1989. Click. 1999. Click. 2009. Click. 2019. Click. 2020. Oof. So basically what I'm getting for the calendar year of 2022 of the U.S. military active duty, there were 1,387,468 active duty people in the military, and 86,655 in reserves. Total deaths in 2020 for the U.S. military were 1,017, 317 of which were accidents, 37 of which were homicides, and 190 which were illnesses, 9 which were hostile action, 406 which were self-inflicted, so most of them were suicides, and 48 pending. So basically 9 hostile action, and I guess, I don't know, maybe accidents would be somewhat considered, potentially deaths in combat of some sort, but basically there's far more, it's over 20 countries, obviously, and so if you were to, take some other countries involved, I'm sure Ukraine probably has a ton of deaths, but for their soldiers and stuff like that. But in terms of the U.S. military, I'm curious, how many U.S. activists were killed in 2020? I wonder if there's specifics. Oh fuck! I shouldn't have talked them that right in there. At least 25 protests, politicians. Well, yeah, just in 2020, at least 25 Americans were killed during protests. So that even just that one article, there was 25 Americans killed in a protest, which is more than the amount killed in some hostile action in 2020 for the U.S. Army. So basically, just protesters in the U.S. are more likely to die than soldiers are to die. So, based off of the stats that I'm finding, just off of that right here. Look into yourself, obviously, but off of what I'm finding right here in terms of the population where I live, in the country where I live, you're better off being a soldier than you are being an activist in terms of your chances. So, but hey. Jamie, my day is going pretty all right. How is your day going? I guess I can pull up the stats for what website I was using. Say the name. dcas.dmdc. Okay. Basically, it's called the Defense Casualty Analysis System. That DMDC. That was the website used for all the military deaths. Well, let's see. I'm not going to advocate for either. Yeah, I don't think deaths should happen in either case. But basically, when it comes down to it, I was just saying that it's just quite dangerous being an activist. There's a lot of, especially in America, because gun laws or stand your ground laws can be a little fucked in some states. Some states, it's just people can break into your property. They don't even have to have weapons. They don't even have to be directly threatening you. They could be just trying to release animals or something, and you're just pretty much just allowed to cap a bunch of people, just because of that. Which is they're taking your property, yeah, but it's property that could be recovered, and people's lives can't necessarily be recovered. I'm a promortalist, so it is good for them to die. Everything is good to die and all that stuff. But at the same time, people aren't thinking that when they're capping some mofo for breaking onto their property to free animals. No, they're thinking these fuckers are trying to steal my money, because that's just how I look at the animals in the cages. They're like money, you know. So to me, it's like, eh, it's like it's a little. It's not like they're out here like I'm gonna gift you death, homie. You know, you're welcome, activist coon. Like John. Gender specific. Whatever gender you want for your abbreviations of the Japanese thing. I don't know anymore. Other ones other than Coon and John. But moral story is yeah, I mean, I don't think people are getting capped because of anything wholesome 100 and of like gifting them the gift of no longer suffering in life. But yeah, I don't want. So basically, I wish no one death for in combat or activism. But if it happens, I mean, hey, I guess it's better than being alive. Sadly, sadly, getting shot while at being activizing is probably better than continuing life because life is just that bummy. But I'm really curious who the second person is. Just big lurking the whole time here. It's like literally just like been here for like an hour just listening to me like do like little psychotic rants. Just no biggie. Just listening in. Exactly. I wish no one death, but no one life. I mean, I wish death in a way, but not really. Like, I don't wish death because most people's deaths are like pretty horrible and usually not from like a voluntary way. Like, I wish everybody a peaceful death, basically. Like, everybody should like have like a good death where like they die instantly, basically, or like through like a means of their own voluntary method of like assisted suicide, where like you drink that funky sauce and then you just kind of stop breathing or whatever. Like, obviously that's a little bit longer than if like you were to be like walking and then like a satellite came out of orbit and like crushed you or something. Like, that would be an instantaneous death, completely unknown to you. Like, I wish everybody would have just like complete like instantaneous deaths where like they wouldn't have to be aware of its oncoming like approach of it. It's just like you having and it would be like in a great moment, like the height of like a great moment. Like, I wish everybody would just be like having like a peak moment of their life, and it's like, yeah, this is the best. And then right when this is about to have the little bit of the come down, it's just like that, like snap, like just like dead, like didn't even see it coming. Like they went on a big note. Wish everybody would have a great moment like that when they die. But unfortunately, that's not the world we live in. So it's just like even more of a reason to hate life. We can't even die properly. Even the thing that everybody fears the most. We can't even at least go out on a good note. Like we're probably gonna one in 1 in 3 people get cancer, and 1 in 5 people die of cancer. That's just one disease out of like what, like thousands, thousands of diseases. And then there's viruses, and then there's like tons of different ways you can get hurt by different animals and different people and different environmental factors or genetic factors. I'm just saying, like, life has a fuck ton of ways it can fuck you over, but I hope no one has to go through that stuff, but it's unfortunately the case that it is. So that's why I don't want to bring people into existence. Like, even just death alone is like such a horrible thing that I wouldn't want to bring anybody into it just for that. But then there's the things between life and death, which are also just as horrible, also, like, but in their own ways. Just like the enduring grind. So yeah, it's like I don't really necessarily wish people like death per se. I wish people would cease suffering, but I don't necessarily wish death. I wish the ceasing of suffering, but I definitely don't wish life because life is the origin of all suffering. So kind of wonder if those people that I handed those cards to ever subscribe. Like when I was marching on the road with my little sign or whatever, two folks out there happened to stop by, and like one of them was from my local college and was just like, "Hey, I have to interview like an activist of some sort. Do you mind if I do that?" And I was like, "Sure, you can interview me if you want, homie." And once they did, I handed them a little card saying like, my name and like some resources for Efilism and all that jazz. If you all want some resources for like, books, because there's a bunch of free books that I have links to. If you're a Christian, and I know you're not Christian, citrus acid based off of what from Bright, but recommend for you Magnus Vinding. I can actually paste a link to the website. Magnus Vinding. Ethics. Basically, I have a little card that I handed out, and it also has my name for my YouTube channel at the bottom of it. I'm kind of wondering if those people ever subscribed to my YouTube channel. I mean, there's only 2 people that I handed the card to. But at the same time, it's just like some random Ephilist / crazy activist hands you a card being like, subscribe to my channel. It's like, hey man, what's the worst that can happen? It's like, worst he's a schizophrenic. I'm not schizophrenic, but the worst he's a schizophrenic, and like, you just listen to some madman rambling. I mean, maybe I am schizophrenic. If I was schizophrenic, I probably wouldn't know if I was schizophrenic by now. So that's getting a little bit deep. Here you go. This dude right here has a book that is free. I'd at least recommend reading the first chapter, and maybe if you like it, note where we're at or whatever, and then read into the future. I read about halfway through the book. I didn't read. I read to the part where it was toward actions. Once you got to the part where it was like how to put things into action, I was kind of like, and I already know how to go about doing actions. I was just curious if he had anything new and insightful regarding ethics. But I mean, for the most part, me and him agree on a lot of stuff. There's a few disagreements here and there, but he's pretty much one of the closest to my ethical views at the moment in terms of literature that I've found. So I'm going to read the Tango of Ethics pretty soon, and I'm pretty sure that also has a lot of things I'd agree with. So perhaps that'll be a book that I'm recommending in the future. But I'm not sure if the Tango of Ethics is free online like Magnus Vinding's book is. So Magnus Vinding's book is completely free, and I highly recommend anybody wants to take a peek at that. If you're an atheist, that's the one I'd recommend. If you're a Christian, I don't know who the other person is. There's a leak lurking here, but if you're a Christian, I'd recommend No Baby, No Cry. I'm actually going to find a link to. Yeah, I mean, I like to do both a little bit of activism on the streets and on the internet because, I mean, you can target both audiences that way. I mean, I prefer the internet just because I can, like, big chill in my basement like this, and not have to deal with the scariness of the world. Woo. But, like, so I kind of like that I can just sit on YouTube live stream and people might just, like, show up or go on, like, I don't know, like, Omegle or some bullshit like that and just click through the bazillion chats until I find someone who's willing to chat and be like, hey, have you ever heard of veganism or Efilism or antinatalism? Like, and maybe they'll humor me and have a conversation. But walking on the street of a sign is a good way to make sure people pay attention to you. But at the same time, people are usually driving their cars, so it's not like most people are going to stop by and have a conversation with you or anything, or ask you questions. And if they're in a car, they're probably going someplace. So it's like you can't usually have like a long conversation that's drawn out like this. I've been thinking about maybe in the summertime, there's a farmer's market. I think like there's a farmer's market or two nearby. And I know like sometimes people have like their own like little volunteer stalls and stuff. Like you can just kind of set things up. And I'm thinking about maybe like bring my sign over there, and because then people actually not be like in their cars, they're just gonna be walking around like touring, like, oh, look at all these vegetables, and all that bullshit. So I mean, what else are we gonna be doing besides looking at vegetables? I may as well look at my sign and my vegetable ass brain, and like just be like, hey, come over here, comrade. Just like I have words to speak to you, and all that good jazz. So like I don't know, like I like online activism a little bit more just because it's more convenient for me. But I feel like doing it in person is more effective in terms of people taking you seriously, and in terms of just making sure that you're saw like Moodle, well, not Moodle, Omegle, Omegle or whatever, those chat rooms, random chat rooms, like someone hears you, like if the small chance that they're not just like some dude trying to like beat into like the fucking like camera or some shit, and you can like actually have a conversation about veganism. Like if they don't want to have a conversation about veganism, they can just click the fucking end conversation button and just walk away, and they don't have to like deal with any repercussions of that. Like you don't have to like, but in public, if you're having a conversation, like like the person's making eye contact with you and stuff, if you just start being a dick to them or like try to like walk away, like you're gonna probably feel like an asshole yourself, or like like basically like social Darwinism stuff is like prevents you from potentially just walking away from a conversation the instant a little bit of a disagreement. At least you're genuine. Yeah, thank you. I like being genuine. I mean, I try to be as genuine as I possibly can be, because I basically believe that like there's a lot of disagreement in the world, but there's also a lot of agreement in the world, and I think that like a big reason people don't realize, the big reason that everything's pretty fucked in America, for example, is simply because of the fact that people just keep a bunch of shit to themselves in terms of like political opinions. Like most people want universal health care. Most people want weed to be legal, all that shit. Why is it illegal still? Because people fucking just keep that shit to themselves. They don't want to be like judged. They don't want to like have their own opinions. They just want to be wishy washy, and them like they just want to be liked basically. They don't want to have stances. So, and I think that leads to like a lot of the issues that is in society today. It's just this wishy washiness. And so, being genuine and being upfront about your beliefs and like really sticking to your guns basically until like someone basically gives you reasons to, you know, change up to modify your weaponry, your ammunition of the world, your ideology basically. So until someone gives you a reason to modify your ideology, you stick to your guns. I'm Canadian. I have to K. I don't know what that means, but if that means go to sleep, be ultra careful. Okay. I feel you. Oh yeah, because you guys have Jordan B. Peterson and all that. You have all the pronoun stuff and all the lack of freedom of speech shit going on, don't you? I mean, I know it's not as bad as like in the Middle East or something like that, but yeah, at least in America we have relatively free speech, kind of. Like certain aspects we don't have free speech, but you know, oh, that's a right, my dude. I've had that happen to me all the time. Like just like typing and you forget that enter doesn't always shift down. It kind of just like posts, or you just click enter and it posts, and you're like, oh fuck, I feel ya. But in America, yeah, free speech is a little bit weird because I know when we were just the whole free Palestine thing that was going on for a while before it got really big. Back when it was kind of like in the not really a meme, it was kind of like in the low end free Palestine. If you would be actively saying like free Palestine, you could be like denied healthcare like from like the government if you're like a state worker and stuff of that nature. So like low key, like we have free speech kind of, but if you're a government worker, your free speech kind of goes bye bye. So like, and there's a lot of government workers in the United States. Like I'm just saying. So free speech exists, but kind of doesn't exist. And then, yeah, that's America. Free speech exists and it doesn't exist at the same time. It depends on who you are. I have free speech. I can say whatever the fuck I want as long as it's not threatening someone. Hell yeah. Not that I have any reason to threaten anybody, so, ew. I don't have any enemies. Most people typically like me or just think I'm weird and creepy and kind of scary. And so I'm like, hey man, that's fair. I'm kind of a psychopath slash an Ephilist. So, I mean, at the same time, like, I would be a little bit like, if I wasn't an Ephilist or I wasn't psychopathic, I would be like, what the fuck is this guy's problem if I was talking to me as well? But hey, when it comes down to it, I'm a pretty cash money guy. Hey, people like me for the most part. So, yo, Jamie, you're 100% right. I don't know what the fuck is going on with Wisconsin's weather right now, but it is hot as Jesus fucking Christ outside. He's a cute guy. I don't understand why they put him displaying that cross. Ooh. But what I'm saying, Jamie. It is really hot outside right now. What the hell is going on in Wisconsin? It was like literally snowing 2 weeks ago. Well, you can't be stupid about it, but I can't just be like, hey, I like watching people die secretly. I mean, yeah, that's fair. I mean, can't you though? Like, can you not say that in Canada? Like, would you get like locked up immediately for being like, like people dying is pretty cash money, bro? Like, I like to watch that shit. Like, I mean, like technically speaking, gore websites completely legal, to like consume. I'm pretty sure. I mean, as long as you're not like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you're allowed to consume gore like illegally in the United States. There's nothing like if you're posting it, it's different. I think like if you're posting gore, you're probably gonna get into trouble because you're like uploading murder and shit like that. But if you're just some fucker who's like going and happens to like stumble across like an ISIS beheading video or something, I'm pretty sure you're fine. Like I don't know. Maybe it's different in Canada. Maybe in Canada you just get fucked if you happen to go on bestscore.com or some shit. I haven't been on the website in fucking years, man. I remember that shit back in high school. Everybody would be like, "Hey, you're saying bestscore.com," and you're like, "What?" And then you just like see that fucking lady in like spit pole, like spicked like a fucking like pig or some shit, and you're like, "What in the tarnation fuck is this?" And that's when your mind of the world changes a little bit. You realize things are brutal out there. Just kidding, but it's true. Can't be stupid about it and watching. Yeah, I've always been pretty open about how homicidal I've been, like to like most people in my life, besides like my parents and a few other people that I don't want to know. But more of the story is I'm pretty open about the fact that I'm just like a little psychopath, like getting along with people. Fair enough. Yeah, most people surprisingly are pretty receptive of me. I'm a very charismatic guy. I talk away. I'm very peppy, vibrant. I got a nice like smile to my face, and yeah, just generally like upbeat fella. So when it comes down to it, I mean, like I'm always just like I, have homicidal ideation, but I never do it. You know what I mean, guys? Be friends with me. And people surprisingly don't give a shit. I mean, people don't give a shit, which makes me feel like they also have homicidal tendencies in their brain, or they just have really fucked up shit in their head, and like to be around people who they feel are more fucked up than themselves to make themselves feel better. But either way, moral story is I have quite a bit of friends, and all of them know that to some extent or another I'm a psychopath, and most of them know that I have like some level of homicidal ideation. Um, my psychiatrist for sure knows, but well, you're lucky if you have more than one or two people at a time you can open up to. Yeah, pretty much all my friends I can open up to in regards to most things. My roommates definitely could have opened up about just about anything. Yeah, most of my friends I can open up to a decent extent or another. Pretty close with most of my friends. I have online friends that was like really, really, really close to. One of them that's no longer with us, like committed suicide like 2 months ago. Unfortunately, they're no longer suffering. At least that's good. But yeah, now I thought about that. Yay. But yeah, fuck. God damn it. But yeah, moral of the story is don't think about suicide. It gets you depressed. Other than that, most of my friends, yeah, I'm like really, really close with, and I don't try to make friends with people who I don't feel like I'll have a personal relationship with because it just seems like it'll be like a waste of my time. Like I'm fairly parasitic as a human being, you know. Well, I was parasitic as a human being back in the day before I started trying to not be. So, and thank you, by the way. But yeah, I mean, I used to be very parasitic as a human being to some extent or another, and recognize the parasitic nature in other beings like constantly. So I was like, hey, I want to be around people who I want to be around. I don't want to be around people who are fake because it's just basically being around a bunch of miniature me's, and I hate myself. And nowadays, I'm not fake anymore. So, yay, I don't really hate myself anymore. I mean, I don't necessarily like myself either, but hey, I don't hate myself at least, you know? There's that. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah. When it comes down to it, when my friend that killed themselves, I mean, their life was really bad, by the way. So I mean, like really really bad. So they're better off not existing. I acknowledge that. It's just really sad and kind of fucks with you when you realize like the reason they killed themselves wasn't because they're pro-mortalist. It wasn't because they thought life was really objectively bad and like not worth living. No, they killed themselves because like their life was full of like so much fucking misery that like they could not take it. Like their life was like beyond horrible. Like they're probably much the bravest person I know for like lasting as long as they did. Like with their circumstances, like no one I know should have lasted that long to like gone through that much pain and endured it for basically nothing other than just to make other people around them happy because she was remaining there and they loved her. So yeah, moral of the story is pain, pain. It fucking sucks. So don't bring people into the world because you know no amount of pain is worth anything. Like there's nothing that there's nothing in the world that can compensate for what she went through, in my opinion. Exactly. We're a product of an environment, and the important thing is trying to improve. Exactly. I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, I don't believe in free will, but I believe in changing of habits. Like, we can't control our actions necessarily, we can't control what we want, but we can control semi, like, what we want in a way. We can, like, establish habits of behavior, like, similar to veganism. Like, I can control the fact that I decided to become a vegan. Like, it's very possible that like my genetics were slightly different. I would have like everything right now, but I might not even care about animals whatsoever. Like, it just might not connect in my brain that like their suffering is equivalent to my own suffering or whatever. So it's like everything's a product of the environment, but we still have a responsibility to improve and try to become better and try to reduce as much pain as we can, and you know, trying to make it so our time here is like, you know, valuable and not just a blight to ourselves and other beings. So my throat is dry. Speaking of that, another round. We're going upstairs. I'm gonna smoke again, and I'm gonna grab a Dr. Pepper. And well, actually, maybe the Dr. Pepper over here might still have some in it. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if I drank all of it. Nope, I still have a sip in there. Hell yeah. Now I don't have to go upstairs. That is good. Because if I were to go upstairs, I'd just smoke again. And I mean, I may as well try to save myself some money and prolong my desires. Remain stoic, Brant. Remain strong. You don't need to smoke if you don't need to smoke. What is needing to smoke? Needing to smoke is when the cost of me smoking is less than the cost of my depression for me not being high. That is when it becomes necessary to smoke. That's all the necessity is an outweighing of pain with yeah, basically. That's what necessity means to me, is something's only necessary when it reduces suffering. Hmm. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, no baby, don't cry. Um, PDF. If anybody happens to be Christian in the chat, I don't think citrus acid is, but if the one other person who apparently is watching me happens to be Christian and not an antinatalist, or if you are an antinatalist and haven't heard of No Baby No Cry and wish to have resources to give to Christians, the link I just put in the chat right here from archive.org has a link to Mary Smith's book, and it's a pretty good resource. Not anything you can't really like think of in your own time when it regards to things and probably comes to your own fruition about, but it is a good book to just like refresh your mind and have like a layout foundation in front of you of like ideas, and a resource to give the people who are Christian, who happen to not think about that type of stuff, and then you can hand them a book and be like, hey, here's some things that you never think about, and then they'll be like, oh shit, probably should have thought about that, and you're like, yeah, I probably should have. you know is citrus acid still here, or is it the other person that's here now? I have no clue. Well, any final questions before I close the stream? We've been going for almost 3 hours now. My last beer won't be much longer, but it's been fun. Ah, I gotcha. There we go. Yeah, it's been fun, my dude. I'm glad you're chatting with me. If you want, you can subscribe to my channel. I'm basically just talk about ethics and like activism and stuff of that nature. Nothing too special, but I do live streams every once in a while and plan to do some in the future. Gonna be similar style to this, where I just kind of just talk and shit. On Twitch, same name basically, except you don't have dashes on Twitch, so it's just antinatal. It's antisocial, all one word, and underscore Efilist, and occasionally. Oh, hi Marco. What you doing? Occasionally, I game on there, like No Man's Sky and other random shit on the TV over here. So, uh, I'll basically just be doing the exact same thing right here. Only instead of looking at my beautiful face, you get to look at like an actual game that I'm playing, which will be a little more entertaining than just looking at me. So, uh, yeah, same style though, asking questions, and then the questions might even pop up on the screen because it's Twitch and all that jazz. So, if you have Twitch, you can subscribe there. Otherwise, yeah, you have a good night, my dude. Take care. I'll sit here for another minute just in case you want to ask any final questions, but just another minute or two. But I'm gonna close it out. Hey, Marco, how's it going, bud? Hey. This is my boy Marco. Great fella. He's adopted. I wouldn't buy from a breeder because, that would be supply and demand for bringing animals into existence. And yes, I do acknowledge you'd be better off dead. As a pro-mortalist, I acknowledge this little fellow would be better off ceasing existence. Yes, you would. But, he's adorable. So, I will allow him to continue suffering on via his instincts so that I can enjoy his company. Yeah, good night, my dude. Take care.